Everyone's ready to strike? Come!
Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have actor and writer Nicole Maines joining us. She's going to talk about playing Dreamer in Supergirl. She's going to talk about writing Dreamer for DC Comics, her upcoming book, and more. Plus, we'll take your calls and texts. Stand by. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in on this blistering cold Sunday evening. My goodness, I actually saw an AT-AT moving down Highway 270 earlier. It's that bad out there. For those of you who are streaming us on the web, hello to you on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for watching us there tonight. And as always, if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form on whatever platform you choose to download your podcasts, we appreciate you listening there and choosing to spend time with us throughout the week and throughout the month, and especially in the new year, 2024. We've got some cool things planned for 2024, so make sure if you haven't already, you hit the subscribe button on whatever platform, and we'll keep you up to date as those things happen. Very excited for my next guest. I've been after her for a while. I think I wore her down. She's like, fine, I'll do your show. Actor, writer, very accomplished. You'll know her from the CW's Supergirl and Yellowjackets, of course, as well. We're going to get into all that. Please welcome to the show, Nicole Maines. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm happy to finally be here.
It was great because I feel like I'm one of those people. I want someone on my show. I'm going to keep reaching out, but I get to the point.
I'm very
when
glad
is it
you did.
pestering people? When am I pestering? So thank you for being gracious and coming on.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So we got to meet at Superman Celebration. We'll start with that.
Metropolis.
Do you do a lot of conventions now that you've been in the Cape set?
I'm starting to do more of them. I still don't do quite as many as I'd like to. So please book me.
It was cool that you were there with Brainiac and Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. That was such a cool grouping to have the three of you there.
Yeah. I literally just got back from Jesse's place. We watched Rush Hour.
Oh, nice. You've seen it before, I trust.
No, first time.
Oh, wow. Now you have to go through 2 and 3 and catch up.
I know. Well, he always shows me movies because I famously have never seen anything. I've seen Shrek and X2, X-Men United. That's it.
Oh, wow. Well, you've seen the good X-Men. That's the important thing.
Yeah, exactly. I saw the gay one, so that's really what I was there for.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, that's fine then. So is he like your movie guru? Is he guiding you? Is he like a movie like nerd in like, oh my gosh, we have to watch this and this and this? Is it overwhelming?
Well, honestly, it's all of my friends. All of my friends are big film buffs. And so I'm sort of, and I watch different types of films with different people. I have one friend who has seen every horror movie under the sun. And she always, every time I go over to her place, she's showing, we just watched Dead Silent a couple days ago.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Loved it.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite genre of movie? I didn't expect this where the conversation would go, but while we're here, do you have a favorite genre of movie?
I kind of love a little bit of everything. I've definitely been on more of a horror kick recently. I honestly love a little bit of everything. My favorite movie is, and my friend will be elated that this is now the case, but I just got to the point where I was watching this one movie more than anything else, like Dazed and Confused, I'm talking about. Love it.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend of mine who I give him trouble all the time because he's never seen The Princess Bride. And I'm like,
another one of my favorites.
It's like, how have you lived your entire life, Ryan Cooper, if you're listening, and never saw The Princess Bride? It kind of boggles the mind, but we're going to try to get him to watch it this year. That's one of his resolutions that we made for him.
Very good, very good.
So when you're acting, obviously, because I always love talking to actors, because when we talk about movies that they enjoy, a lot of them, especially if they're playing in a horror film or if they're doing an action movie, they kind of come to find out, well, that's not my favorite genre. But so it's kind of interesting when you go into a role like, let's say, Yellowjackets. What's your operation for getting into character, finding the voice of the character, and doing research? Do you go down a kind of a rabbit hole of certain movies and books, or how do you do it?
Honestly, the thing that helps me the most, I think, in creating characters, are two things. One, music, finding like just like one or two artists that I can really like rabbit hole down. For Yellowjackets, for Lisa, it was a combo of like Sosie and the Banshees and ABBA.
Wow.
I don't know why, that just worked. And then for Dreamer, was Taylor Swift, obviously.
That would make sense. I want to make sure, because I'm notorious about not paying attention to the chats. So I've got the KTRS text screen up over here. I've got the chat screen up over here. So I want to make sure I don't ignore people. We've got Siborius, if I pronounced that right, says, hey, Nicole Maines, sister of Jonas.
Yeah.
My friend Emily Stowe says, eek, she was the redhead who met you with me at Superman Celebration.
Hello
She was
again.
very excited. We have our friend Chance from Atlanta says hello from Atlanta. And let's see. Howie Hirschfield says, great call. And then Howard Morton says he digs it. And Chance gave us a football update, which Chance obviously doesn't know me because I'm not a sports ball guy, but that's okay. I appreciate the update on the score, Chance, for those of you who are listening. I won't say it in case someone's not watching the game. But so I'm trying to do better about paying attention to the chats. That was my resolution for 2024. Are you a resolution person? Do you make New Year's resolutions or not?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think somewhere along the line, it just kind of fell off into being like, I'm just going to try to be like a better person. Which is stupid, because I know I'm never going to stick to that.
Right. I mean, who does?
I know. Yeah, I mean, last year it was like definitely like, I'm going to say yes to more things, like especially socially, because I'm a hermit. I don't go out. I am more than happy to just stay in my house and never see anybody. So last year it was all about like saying yes and going out, and I did that, and I was like, woo, awesome. Not quite sure what it is this year.
Did you find it helped last year? Did you end up saying yes to more things and did it work?
Yeah, I did. And I have more of a social life.
That's
now.
good.
And that's still something that I'm trying to do. I'm still trying to, I think it's something I could do is maybe be a little more, schedule my time more, especially as I'm writing more comics and stuff, because I get so overwhelmed so easily. And I just texted, Tom Taylor a couple days ago, and I was like, how are you doing it? You're doing Titans, you're doing Nightwing, you're doing Superman. Like, how are you doing all of this, keeping up with all this? And he's like, honestly, it's panic. Sheer panic. And I was like, well, I mean, at least I'm not alone.
That's good that Eisner Award-winning writer Tom Taylor, we know he panics. He does. It's not just like, oh, it's on autopilot and it's easy. So that makes me a little bit more appreciative of his recent Eisner win for Nightwing. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I was like, oh, maybe I am doing something right.
Right. If you're panicking, I guess that must be the right mode to be in. Who knows?
Yeah, because I'm afraid.
But I just recently read, for those of you who are watching, I apologize to those of you who are listening to it, but I do have the most recent issues that you've written right here. It was great to read them, and I read them in the correct order unknowingly. I didn't know you had to read the Titans first, and then it kind of dovetails in the action story, so I was lucky there. But I'm excited because it sets up the next chapter for Dreamer. Amanda Waller has kind of come into your life now, which, again, I don't know. Let me start there. Hold on, because let me pull it back a minute, because I'm not sure. When I talk about stuff with friends, I never know how big of a comic book geek they are. So, what was your first entry into comic books? Because some people, like my friend Susan Eisenberg, who voices Wonder Woman, she said I wasn't into comic books until I got the gig. Was that the case with you?
Split the diff. Like, so my brother and I, we grew up in really like rural, like central Maine, and we didn't have a comic book store. So the comics that I read growing up were whatever came to us in like the Scholastic Book Fair. But I had one, actually I think it was my brother's, but I loved it. It was a Spider-Man anthology series. It was like Spider-Man teams up with like the Fantastic Four, he teams up with Thor, he teams up with Storm, he teams up with Rogue. Like, I loved it. I thought it was cool. But that was kind of it. And I didn't get, I watched like a lot of television. So I grew up with like the Teen Titans Cartoon Network series, Batman, the animated series, Superman, that kind of stuff. And then like playing the Arkham games got me more sort of starting to kind of get into that feel. And then of course loved Arrow. That really launched
Arrow, a whole that was a game changer, especially for I think comic book TV in general, but obviously the DC universe took off from there. Arrow was a huge thing. Yeah, seriously. So so then getting to be in that universe was really cool. Like, God, I love it here. I can only imagine. We just I do another podcast with Susan. We go back and watch Justice League together, and she's obviously got contacts. So we just interviewed Carl Lumley, who was in Supergirl. He got to play his own father. He got to play David Harewood's father because he voiced Martian Manhunter. But it's once you get in that DC sandbox, I can only imagine that you just don't want to go anywhere else. Well, exactly. I mean, I am always telling my agents, like, I don't want to do stuff that I could just go out into the world and do. I want to get into the different sandbox. I want to play with the other kids' toys. I want to see what else is there and play in that world. And so like superheroes, the supernatural, like, and any like fantasy, science fiction, I love all of it. Is that what when you're reading? Because obviously, and I'm not trying to break down your entire childhood in 1 hour, but were you a big? You mentioned the Scholastic thing. Did you read a lot of fantasy and stuff like that? Was that kind of what you like? Not Dungeons and Dragons necessarily, but like Tolkien and stuff like that. Yeah, my brother's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Okay. I mean, I'm like redacted. Like I was a big Harry Potter fan before J.K. Rowling went off the deep end and slapped the book out of my hand, and I was like, I loved you. What? Yeah. But gosh. So like that was big for me. So I was a big fantasy fan. Yeah, now getting more into like Lord of the Rings and stuff, and now the comic book thing is kind of just completely taking over my life. And so now that I've started writing even more so, because I started reading more when I was on the show. Sure. And now that I've started writing, so much of it has become research. I just got back from the comic book store today because they were like, hey, we had an issue of Secret Six come in because I was looking for some Black Alice references. Because sometimes DC will send me the PDFs, but like sometimes I like to have like the physical something that I can like put on my bookshelf. Same. Yeah. I want to smell it. But yeah, and it didn't have her, but I bought it anyway because I was like, I'm still gonna read it. But yeah, no, that's one of the things it's having the tangible copy for me, because I'm a collector anyway from when I was a little kid. So I've always liked having the floppies. They'll come out in the trade paperback, but I like getting them monthly and having that story and reading it and just being current and present with the story, which as a writer, nice to have something you can hold. Yeah, which obviously as a writer you need to be present because you're the one drafting the story. So that's the scariest thing is as I'm like, especially with Suicide Squad, because there's like so many different characters and they all want different things and they're all coming from different places. Now I'm like on the wiki and I'm trying to look up books and I'm like, wait, so what's this character's history? Because you want to do justice to all the characters because every character is somebody's favorite, right? Sure. So I'm like, every single one I want to do justice to and have their own thing going on. But I'll send a message and I'm like, I can't find anything on the wiki, and they're like, we know. Is the edit and if you
Fill in
don't
the stub articles.
if you
Help a girl out.
for those of you
Okay,
listening, if you
let's
please
go.
update the Suicide Squad wiki page for
Yeah,
Nicole, that would be
what's going
great.
on?
But it's one of those, I fell in love with Suicide Squad. I read the John Ostrander run that came out in the late 80s, but I went back and I grabbed the whole run on eBay and just devoured it from start to finish. And I got to talk to John Ostrander, who was a guest at Superman Celebration as well, and pick his brain about it. Does DC give you like, hey, if you're interested in this, talk to this writer? Are they very?
They are really good at connecting people and yeah, and I sent because I know some people too, so I texted Gail and I was like, what can you tell me about Black Alice? And she gave me a very good breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, talking about a prolific storyteller when it comes to that, Gail Simone, my goodness, unbelievable. I can imagine her whole life must be panic because all the stuff that goes on in her mind.
Well, I'm just like, how do you guys do it? How do you? They're so good. I'm like, how do you keep pumping out interesting stories too? Like, it's all I can do with it. I'm like, is this cliche? Have we done this before? Have people seen it? Like, I'm just, I don't know.
Well, I guess the fortunate thing, and maybe you might feel differently, but the fortunate thing is you've got a newish character. It's not like you're doing Dream Girl. This is, a new character more or less that just premiered in 2021 in comic books continuity. And you've gotten to be there right at the inception. You've gotten to write this character since the beginning, more or less. So that's
but I mean, there's even the pressure in that is now it's like, oh, now we need to decide what we want this to be. There's no real anything to draw from. It's kind of okay. What's the vibe? And it's difficult too because on the show especially she was such a light character and she was so just like this ball of sunshine, right? And of course under it was a lot of pain and anger and all of that. But in the comic book continuity, it's so different from just how she became a hero and everything on Supergirl. Yeah. Her origin is just different, and so the issues that she's been in are different, and it has kind of put her now in a place where it's so serious and the stakes are so high. So I'm hoping in the future that someday I get to tell a dreamer story of like, when maybe things calm down, we can show her being like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man character for like a second.
I guess I hadn't thought about that point until you just brought it up, but I'm assuming that's just because you didn't come in until season 4 and you were kind of there as that was the type of character that was the beat they needed for that season.
Well, exactly. She was the ingenue and she was the mentee to Supergirl, and she was there to be reflective of where Kara has come from. Yeah.
And then in the comic books, it is a little bit more, since the onus is on you more or less because you're carrying these particular stories. You're the lead, so I guess that kind of changes the perspective and the atmosphere of the stories. Have you enjoyed that aspect of it though?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the fun thing about getting to do these comics is I get to do all of this stuff with Dreamer that we didn't get to do on the show. So putting her in these really like high stakes situations and having her go up against like people like Amanda Waller and Livewire and having these awesome supervillain fights is something that we didn't really get to do on the show. Right. And so getting to explore that aspect of it has been really fun. I think the challenging part though is like just the nature of her powers. Like seeing the future is such a hard thing to sort of like, how do I structure the story around this? Yeah. So that's been difficult, but it's also really fun too. And the dreams are, I think, one of my favorite parts is getting to go through. I have kind of my growing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Dream library.
That's awesome.
I've got Nightmares, The Alchemy of Your Dreams, The Dictionary of Dreams, 12,000 Dream Interpreted. Like, I'm just like scrolling through them and I'm like, what's a goat mean?
Right. So that brings up another aspect. Well, tell you what, let me take a quick pause. For those of you listening, we are talking with Nicole Maines. We've got her for the rest of the hour. She's graciously agreed to be on the air with us for this entire time. Going back to the comments, Kenneth Crawley Jr. says, hey guys, hey Nicole, huge Superman fan from Northeast Ohio, and he loved you as Dreamer on Supergirl.
Thank you.
We've got, if I don't mess this up and close the chat out, Ryan Cooper heard my comment about Princess Bride and says, hey now, I heard that crack. Sorry, Ryan. We've got Saberus says Nicole's boyfriend's a huge cosplayer, I guess. So
yeah, ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. Okay, sorry.
Ex-boyfriend now. No, it's okay.
We'll
yeah, he's a big cosplayer. He started doing some Shazam stuff, and he's got a Cyclops costume on the way.
Nice. Legato Blue says my comic book store is linked with a Chinese restaurant, so it's a win-win. That is a winning combination for me, absolutely. I'd be an avid reader, and I'd gain so much more weight. So we're caught up with the chats. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We're going to come back in just a moment, and we'll dig into a little bit more because I want to talk about the psychological aspect of Dreamer and the way you're writing that, because you just brought up one of my degrees is in psychology, so now we're going to nerd out about that for a moment.
Let's do it!
We're talking to Nicole Maines. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
You can make a skate cheese, baby skates. And do you see how baby skates amaze us, folks? Showing off his fun with baby skates. Baby skates, baby skates. We showed them, didn't we, baby skates?
Baby skates doll. Here's the Hart family car.
Fun is being part of the family that's all Hart.
You put it together. Hart Family Deluxe set sold separately.
Here's a car that is new with the trunk that opens too, and a pink car seat for you.
Now where's that little rascal?
A new one for you too. Going to the park in the Hart family car. Fun is being part of the family that's all Hart.
The Hart family car comes with 2 baby car seats and seat belts. Hart Family Deluxe set sold separately. New.
Rhinestone Dazzle's missing. Never mind, Glossy. Lays. Fine, Dazzle. Looking for me? Dazzle, you're all right. Sure. Let's go to the movies. We'll have to go to the drive-in. Yeah, at the movie theater, they wouldn't give Blaze a seat.
What happens then, you can just imagine. Dazzle, Glossy, Rhinestone Dolls, and Blaze Horse, each sold separately from the Dazzle and Her Friends collection. New from Mattel.
The Lego system starts here with the curiosity of a preschooler and the big blocks of a Duplo building set. And as imaginations grow, so does the Lego.
Pasteurized processed cheese at participating castles.
Hi, I'm John Wesley Shipp, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Geek to Me Radio, heard here live every Sunday night on the Big 550 KTRS. We'll make sure we tell you about our official comic book sponsor, Bugs Comics and Games. We were talking with Nicole Maines earlier, and she said her town when she grew up, there wasn't a local comic book store. Luckily, if you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area like we are here, you can go to Bugs Comics and Games. It's on Bryan Road right there in O'Fallon, Missouri. Easily accessible from either 364 or Highway 70. Pop in there. It's one of the things we were talking. I love the physical comic books. I like to have the comics. I've got a weekly pull list that I go, and Larry's got my comic book set aside. You can join the Avengers Club and save money. So in the economy, you kind of cut back where you can. Don't sacrifice your hobby. You can join the Avengers Club, and you start getting a discount on your monthly pull, your new books, your back issues, your bags, your boards, your toys, your games, your Pokemon cards, whatever it is. You'll start saving money by joining the Avengers Club. Yeah, I always say it's not a comic book store unless they have back issues, and Larry's got stuff from the Silver Age. He's got Western comics. He's got fantasy. He's got the Gold Key comics, all the new stuff too, like you can get Titans, Beast World, Metropolis Tour, and Action Comics, so you can read Nicole's writing in these books. If you want to go pick those up, I know Larry still has a couple copies left. I think Beast World was sold out. I think I may have gotten the last copy, but I think Action Comics is still on the shelf. If you're looking to divest of your collection, maybe you've gotten to the point where, you know what, I got too much and I need to get rid of it, give Larry a call because he'll give you a really fair price for your collection, and then I'll have more back issues to go through next time I go. So it's kind of a win-win-win for all of us. Bugs Comics and Games, you can like them on Instagram, Bugs Comics AND Games, and he does online shipping there. So maybe you don't have a local comic book store. Let Larry at Bugs Comics be your new local comic book store online. He'll ship you stuff. It's great. And you can also obviously give their Facebook page like Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. As we're talking comics, We are talking with Nicole Maines, and she's writing them right now. And before we took that last break, she was showing me all the stuff she's got, the books and everything she's going through. So one of my majors was psychology, and I love the Freud and the Jung and all that stuff where they get into the dreams and the unconscious self. What kind of studying? Obviously, you got the books, but are you Wikipediaing stuff? Are you getting stuff from the library and just kind of taking it all in?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult too because I'm kind of like, I'm not quite sure where entirely to dive in. There are a couple things that have been interesting to me. Like I had someone who was telling me about this thing called like the Akashic Records, which is supposed to be like the library of dreams, yada, 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 lots of astral projection. So haven't found quite where to plug that in yet, but that's kind of jangling. And I have a permanent tab open on my phone. I'm just like, I don't know what we're going to do with that, but I like that.
Right.
But yeah, just lots of, because I'll have an idea for a story, right? And sort of with the dreams, it becomes a situation of reverse engineering. I'm like, okay, I have what's happening. I have what she's seeing. I have what these are supposed to mean. Now let's go into these books and let's try to build some meanings with some symbology and some metaphor and create something really trippy. And then the artist always does a brilliant job of like in Bad Dream, Rye Hickman. Every dream is like this beautiful, like surrealist 2-page spread. And they're just like, yeah, I mean, trippy is kind of the only word for them. They're very beautiful and very cool.
I've seen some of Rye's other art. It's stunning, his artwork. So to get to work with him, what's the collaboration like? Because you're working with a few different artists, obviously, as you're writing these on different books, and now you're working with Rye Hickman on Bad Dreams, which is out in April. We settled on, I believe. It'll be out in April.
Yes, April 2nd for Bad Dream.
So if you're in the area, wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this from, go to your local bookstore and have them pre-order. We always say, please support your local bookstores and the small businesses. Yeah. So go there and just say, hey, can you pre-order this? Probably they can do it pretty easily since it's not due out till April. So ask for that book. It's called Bad Dreams from Nicole and Rye. What is the collaboration like? Because we've talked to writers before, and it's always fascinating. They'll get into a groove with a certain artist where they've almost got a shorthand, and then you work with a new artist and you kind of find that rhythm. What's it been like for you?
It's been really cool. I mean, everyone's very different. I think the original script sort of starts as the way it was first described to me was your script is just a letter to the artist. So that helps a lot too. And no, and so as I send them out, I'll include little notes to them like, hey, for this panel, this is kind of my idea. I'm not married to this in any way, shape, or form. I always like to give the illustrator as much room to interpret or take off or do whatever they want to do. I try not to be too much of a backseat driver. Because some of the most fun parts for me are seeing the art come back, and especially now.
I'm sure.
Suicide Squad is so much fun, but Rye and did such a beautiful job on the graphic novel, and it's something that we've been working on since the pandemic.
Wow.
And so now that it's finally done, I've seen the whole thing, and it came out so beautiful, and yeah, it's something a little more special. I think it's just been such a process. But I love it. I'm so excited about it. And the stuff Eddie is doing, the Suicide Squad is, breathtaking. I'm just so excited. Dreamer is a fun character too, because it opens so many doors artistically too, because there's so much surrealism, and we're trying to capture the feeling of dreams in print, and everyone has just been knocking it out of the park. Seriously, every single time I go, oh my god, she's never looked better, oh my god, she's never looked better, oh my gosh. You'll reach that bar where eventually you're like, oh, she could have looked better. I guess there'll eventually will come a time. It's gotta happen. You're setting that bar so high each time. But the artists you've gotten to work with, just from a layman standpoint, you've been incredibly fortunate because I've loved it all. Oh my gosh, I got what Fico did on Beast World and Action Comics is so crazy. This panel is so crazy.
Yeah. I think I audibly gasped when I turned to that page. I was like, oh, wow. It's
Yes, me too. I clutched the pearls, realized I wasn't wearing them, then I went and got them, put them on. It's
yeah. You almost have to put them on for something like that if you're going to clutch. I mean, they have to
Beautiful.
be there.
Beautiful. The artists have been doing such a beautiful job. I'm so excited.
You mentioned Suicide Squad. Obviously, that's coming out in March, and it's Suicide Squad Dream Team. And for those of you who are listening, you might want to actually pick up these two books. I'm going to show them again for those of you watching because this story part leads directly into that new series. Is that just is it a mini series, a maxi series? Are we getting 5 issues, 6, 12?
Yeah, so it's 4-issue series.
4, okay.
Yeah. It's going to be really, really good. Hopefully it's going to be really good. I'm excited about it. I mean, Dreamer has had a couple of appearances over the past couple years. She popped up in Son of Kal-El. She popped up in Lazarus Planet. She popped up in, and now in Beast World and everything. And it's really fun to look at all of the books together now too, and see kind of the trajectory and I'm like, oh, I can see how we got here from here. And it's exciting too, because now everything that she's been involved with, going back to Son of Kal-El, has been sort of leading her to Dream Team, and has kind of been building towards this thing, which is very rewarding to get to write now too. Because I'm like, I saw it and I was like, I can't believe this came together.
Just to see it, because like I said, I'm obviously a huge comic book nerd, so I was watching all the Arrowverse shows, and then I was like, oh, she's writing the comic books now, so of course I had to start reading the comic books. I'm trying to be not mindful of the chats, too. I apologize for those. We've got Carl Andres is listening to us from the Philippines. Says, hi, Nicole, big Dreamer fan, listening from the Philippines. So, Carl, thank you very much. Carl says, I just bought a ton of Dreamer comics yesterday, so that's fantastic.
Hey, thank you.
Are any of these books going, I mean, not that it's a measure of anything, but I'm just curious, are any of them going to second prints? Because like I said, I think Bugs was sold out I think I bought the last one. Have you heard? Are they doing second printings on? Okay. I didn't know if they shared that with the writers or not, so.
I think they do. I'm so, like, single focused at this point, where I'm just like, huh? What? Leave me be. I must write. The panic. It's still there.
So, if you don't mind my asking, what's a typical day for you like? Do you have like, I audition on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I write Wednesdays and Mondays? I mean, do you have like a schedule as far as when you're writing and when you're auditioning for stuff, and when you're doing what does it get into?
The auditions are more fewer and far between, especially after the strike.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we're still kind of trying to pick up after that and kind of get moving again. So those, whenever those come in, do them and find time for it. My goal and I think that can be kind of one of my resolutions this year, is to try to structure my time a little bit better. I tried to set a goal for myself where it's like, it doesn't matter how long or how short it takes, but every day I need to write 2 pages. And that has sort of become how because some days it's hard because you just like, nothing's coming out and it's hard to, squeeze any more juice out of it.
Sure.
There's empty. So I'm like, however, if I need to take all day, as long as those 2 pages get written, it's fine. And so, I'll go on walks and try to jostle something loose that way. Sometimes just the getting up and moving helps. But yeah, it's I need to be more disciplined, I think, so that I get better at knowing when to cut myself off as well.
Yeah.
My dad has been staying with me, and I was talking to him the other night, and I was like, okay, I was finishing up issue 2 of Dream Team, and I was like, okay, I think it's fine. Can I stop? Is it okay? And he was like, no, you get back in there. And I said, I'm not joking. I need 100% sincerity in this moment, or I can't relax. Please let me go.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, you did good. You wrote way more than you were supposed to do today. And I was like, okay.
There's that panic. See, that's that Tom Taylor panic right there. 100%. So you're doing it right. I think. Who knows? I mean, Tom. The quality of the stories have been good, so I can speak to that just from a fan standpoint. I've enjoyed it, and it really. I'm assuming, again, I'm a layman, but I'm assuming because you played this character on screen. I don't want to say it's easy. Obviously, writing's always hard, but for you to come up with what the character would say and do, I would feel would be a little more second nature than it would be for, again, nothing against Gail Simone because she is amazing, but for someone like her to come in to now take over this character.
Yeah, it's easier now. I've been in her head for so long that I'm like, I kind of know where she's coming from at this point. I think the hardest part is remembering she's younger than she was on the show. In the show, she's mid-20s. Here, she's 18.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remind myself, I'm like, okay, she can be a little more, she doesn't have to be as level-headed. She doesn't have to be as on top of her shit. She can be a little more.
No, you're fine. We're in a delay for just when that kind of thing happens.
Sorry.
That's why we have a delay. That's why I'm just like, I'm gonna make sure I hit the button. No problem. I hadn't thought about that aspect either. It's with the character like this because she is vastly powered, and I feel like we still don't know the limits of those powers. We didn't get the limit in Supergirl, the series, nor I don't think, obviously, we've seen it in the comic books. So I'm always curious, like when she tells Superboy, you go, I got Livewire, it's a little bit of hubris, and it is that hubris of youth, I felt, which was a nice touch.
Yeah. She was a little ambitious in fighting Livewire. She was like, okay. But it was, I think that decision came more from, like, what I wanted to show there was, yes, the hubris, but also like the decision making and the leadership and saying, look, this isn't about making me feel good. Mm-hmm. This is like, there are a lot of people. There is a giant cloud of mystery, whatever, coming towards Metropolis. I do not have the skill set to get all of these people out of here
right
the way you can.
Right.
They trust you. You fly. You got a number of things working for you. I know it's not that I don't believe you can't beat Livewire. I know we both can. I think we both can. But I know I can't do what you need to do.
Right. Yeah.
So that was good. I really like them together, and I'm loving how that relationship is growing as well.
The chats are very concerned about you because they said they want someone to clone you from our friend Chance in Atlanta. That way you'd be able to get more of your stuff done, I guess, and you wouldn't feel as stressed maybe. And then we have that. Maria Paula B says boundaries at work are key. So that, that's a good thing too. And Shannon Musler said about you have a great goal there. That's a great goal to kind of put those things just 2 pages a day and work it out. So everyone thinks you're on the right track and they just want more of you, I think. So that's good.
Here we go.
We are going to take another quick commercial break. We're going to come back because we haven't talked, as I kind of wanted to talk about live action too, because you got to do Flash and Legends of Tomorrow as well as Supergirl and interact with the entire Arrowverse. So we're going to take another very brief commercial break. We're going to come right back. After this, we'll chat more with Nicole about her writing, about her role in Supergirl, and I'm trying to keep up with the chat, so keep them coming. I'm glad you're listening. We appreciate all the listeners. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 5.
G.I. Joe Snowcat holds 10 Joes, and it's got a missile rack and torpedo skis.
G.I. Joe!
Cobra's on the run! Yo, Joe!
G.I. Joe Snowcat. Other Joe and Cobra figures and equipment sold separately from...
Introducing a new goodnight friend, Glow Butterfly.
Your child's goodnight friend.
And here's cute little Glow Bug.
Squeeze him tight when it's night. Watch his face light up bright. Your child's goodnight friend.
And pretty Glow Baby.
Glow Baby's tired, Mommy.
Good night, Glow Baby. Good night, Susie.
They're all machine washable. Batteries not included and each sold separately. Who has these goodnight friends? Hasbro has.
He-Man.
Beastman's no match for Battle Armor, He-Man.
Beastman, Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor each sold separately.
Take that! Just a dent. And that! More dents. But look! They're gone! Only Farmer Skeletor has it too. Now the real fun begins.
Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Hey guys, this is Echo Kellum, aka Mr. Terrific, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back here on Geek to Me Radio. For those of you who aren't yet tired of hearing me talk, I've got another podcast, and I want to tell you about that one really quickly. Justice League Revisited. If you are a fan of Justice League, the animated series, and who isn't, one of the best animated series out there, and of course, Justice League Unlimited, the voice of Wonder Woman, Susan Eisenberg, and I have embarked on a podcast journey to go back and watch each episode in its original airing order, and we bring on a guest. It might be a writer, a director, a storyboard artist, or a voice actor. We've recorded a lot of episodes so far. We just released our 8th episode, I believe, and we're talking to Dan Reba, the director of the episode, who we talked with him about. So if you're wanting to learn more, it's almost like having the DVD commentary when you're watching a show, because we get that insight from this voice actor. We just recorded a great episode with Carl Lumley, Martian Manhunter. We've had Phil Lamar on the show, who is brilliant, talking about In Blackest Night, getting to say that oath, the Green Lantern oath, on his role there. So if you're a fan of the Justice League at all and you like that whole genre and you want to learn more about your favorite animated series, check out Justice League Revisited on any platform where you get your podcast from. I had it up a minute ago, and of course now I've hit the wrong button. There it is. It looks just like that, for those of you who are wondering. Justice League Revisited, hosted by Susan Eisenberg and myself. If you've got a favorite episode, we want to hear from you. We're going to do a live tweet of an episode coming up, and we've got some special guests already in the queue who I'm so excited about. Hopefully you will be too. So check that out. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, Justice League Revisited, and leave us a nice 5-star review. That always helps us out in the search engine optimization. And now Susan will be very happy that I've told everyone about the podcast on the radio show as well. We're talking with Nicole Maines, speaking of DC Comics. Got to play Dreamer in Supergirl, the live-action series, part of the Arrowverse. I wanted to ask you, Nicole, if you're okay with talking, I love to hear about the audition process. How hard was it? How easy was it? Some actors love the auditioning process, some of them loathe it. If you would, just kind of talk a little bit about the process for you.
Well, number one, I don't trust any actor who loves the auditioning process. I think that is a person who is not safe. Okay. Noted. But yeah, so I was going to college in Maine at the time, and I sent in the self-tape audition. I was doing self-tape auditions before they were cool. And so I filmed that in my parents' basement on I think I paid a kid like $70 from my old high school to come over and tape it and edit it and put it together for me. I found like my old slate on my phone, which is like hi, I'm Nicole Maines. I'm from Portland, Maine, and I'm reading for the role of Nia. Like I found that on my phone. Like I don't know why they booked me. It was not good. I did not look good either. I wore a very unflattering dress. It just the angle was bad. Like all of my hindsight was like, woof. But they thank goodness.
So you booked it off the self-tape?
Yeah, well, they had me come in for a callback, and I went in and I did it in the room. I went to Los Angeles, and the next day after the callback. Wow. Hired. I was like, what? Really? Are they sure? Yeah, it was very.
Nicole Maines, right? You got the right Nicole? Is this?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. I mean, that's for such a high level, high profile show as that was. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little unusual, honestly. I was expecting to have to do a chemistry read with somebody, but I didn't have to.
I mean, everything I've talked about, or I should say everything I've heard about from the people I've talked to, because we had John Wesley Shipp on the show. We talked to Echo Kellum, who got to play Mr. Terrific, which is one of my favorite DC characters. It sounds like it's just while it was obviously everyone had to be at the top of their game because it was a lot of work, it was also a lot of fun. It was a great environment. And you got to be on The Flash, obviously, and Legends of Tomorrow, which that show is just off the rails bonkers, and I love it. Did you just enjoy yourself? It was not like work at all because you were just having fun the entire time?
I mean, I was riddled with imposter syndrome and anxiety, but that's, not news. Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, we got to show up, we got to play dress up, and we got to pretend to be superheroes. I mean, that's all I want to do. At the end of the day, I just really want to play dress up.
Yeah.
So, getting to, run around with my friends and, pretend to fight bad guys, it's the stupidest job in the world.
Did you have a favorite episode of Supergirl, even if it didn't feature you, but there was a moment that you really enjoyed that made that episode your favorite?
I think my favorite episodes to film were in season 6, were the prom night episode, or the time travel Midvale episodes. Because Jesse who played Brainiac 5 on the show, we got to go back in time, and it was just this almost had buddy cop vibes almost as we're kind of 1 second, let me just okay, my fellow Psychodian, okay. It was so stupid, and we got to lean on each other, and because he's so funny, and I love doing comedy too, and I love making people laugh, and getting to lean more on that side of things was so much fun, and we got to just be stupid, and it was such a blast. It was really fun. So I love that one. Both of those episodes, I have to include them together. Were so much fun. We had such a blast doing them.
And it was one of those things for me when watching the care that those producers and writers took, not only on your show but on the other surrounding shows, to pay homage, like having John Wesley Shipp come back as Jay Garrick after he played him in the 90s series, and then having Mark Hamill come back as the trickster on some of those, bringing Kevin Smith in to direct certain episodes. I mean, it blows my mind that there was such a creative just renaissance in TV when it came to those shows.
Yeah, it was something, it's never really been done before, and it was so special, and I loved it so much. It was really, really cool.
And speaking of never done before, I know you and I talked about this briefly before we started the show, and I think you mentioned some other name, but from my research, I think you're only one of 2 people who are writing the character they played in a TV show of superhero, you and Iman Vellani, who played Ms. Marvel. So I think if we have another Marvel DC crossover, it'd be cool to get a Ms. Marvel Dreamer crossover written by the 2 of you.
Well, everyone thinks they're the same character, too.
Really?
I think it's something about brunette with a blue mask.
Okay. Yeah.
Every time I'll post a picture of Dreamer, they're like, "Is that Ms. Marvel?" Like Ms. Marvel doesn't get mistaken for Dreamer. Dreamer gets they're like, "Oh, you're Ms. Marvel, clearly," and I'm like, "No, she's not."
I mean, it says in the name Marvel, so it's not even the same company. But that's just me, being a nerd and saying, well, actually, but I guess I can see it if someone's not well versed. I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. But it's so cool. And we said, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is writing Green Lantern or anything like that anytime. But so it's neat that you've gotten to have this journey from on screen to the written word with the comics and now the book coming out. I want to make sure I plug that again. Bad Dream is coming out in April. So make sure you order it from your local bookstore, pre-order it there, and they can get it for you in plenty of time, especially if you've got a birthday coming up in April like some people do. If someone's listening and wants to get it for their friend. We've got in the chats, Emily Stawinski says, between writing and acting, what do you enjoy about both different types of creating, and what do you find the most challenging about both?
What I love about acting is I don't have to write it. I like to get to do it, and I like to get to have that in my body, but that's a very challenging thing, and just acting is hard. And that is the hardest. The acting is the hardest part of acting, is actually doing it. It's easy to show up and put the costume on, and memorizing lines isn't the hard part for me, but the actual the acting, can be very difficult. And yeah, with comic books, it's trying to constantly like churn out new ideas, especially if they're like, hey, do you want to write something? And you can't really be like, I don't really have a... like, it's like, hey, we want you to write this. And I'm like, I'll figure something out for it. Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Please. Yes. Like they just offered me, they were like, hey, do you want to write, this thing? And I was like, I told myself I wasn't going to do anything else. I was like, I'm going to take a break. I was like, let me just focus on Suicide Squad. Do you want to do this thing? Of course. What?
Is that from wanting to keep being creative, or are you one of those people who just, you want to, like your New Year's resolution from last year, you want to say yes?
Yeah, kind of like that. But also it's, I want Dreamer everywhere. I want as much Dreamer as we can. And so if I'm in a position to like write something for her and keep this moving forward, like, let's do it. I want to tell more stories with her. I think she's so cool. Like you said, there's so much with her that we haven't really gotten a chance to explore. Like the nature of her powers, exactly what they are, what they can do, and the origins of all of that haven't really ever gotten to be explored. And I'm excited to get to start doing that. The graphic novel is a good first start, and it really starts showing what Nia's relationship with Naltor is, and we start fleshing that out as a place, and that's been really fun.
We have a couple of their chats came in. Emily said her partner wants to know, based on stuff you've said tonight, were you a theater kid growing up?
How could you tell?
You have that exuberance. I think that's probably why they're asking. They've got you've got that
overwhelming aura of back massage trains. Yeah.
Something like that. Sure. We also have I lost my place in the our friend BK in Atlanta says thumbs up. He's loving the show there in Atlanta. And we had someone ask in the chat earlier, and I rolled past it too quickly. They said, "Do we have a Dreamer Funko Pop?" I don't know if I've seen one. Is there one out there?
We do not, but someone made one for me that I do have.
Oh, so it's a one of a kind. That's even nicer. But yeah, with all the licensing they do, I was just talking about that with someone today. My goodness,
like, hello.
How do we not have a Brainy and a Dreamer Funko Pop? Or even a 2-pack.
My gripe with the show is we had no merchandise. And I was like, you guys, what are we doing? Also, every other show got Funko Pops except for us.
I think they made a Kara, and I believe they made a Jean. I feel like I've seen a David Harewood Funko Pop from Supergirl with Supergirl labeling. I could be wrong. It could have been a fever dream, but yeah, but it was very scarce. Now that you're mentioning that,
Supergirl one, but we didn't get like I was like, let's be real. People want a Lena Luthor Funko Pop. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I would like the Dreamer one.
If someone can just get a John Cryer from 2.5 Men and shave the hair off and have a Lex Luthor one, they could do that if they wanted to.
Boom.
Custom made. We have someone else wanted to know, and I feel I would hopefully think the answer to this would be a resounding yes from you. If given the opportunity, would you bring Nia into James Gunn's new DC universe?
Of course.
You probably.
That's what I'm always hoping. I'm always like, as I'm writing these, I'm like, gosh, I hope nobody notices. Who's this brand new character? Oh, I noticed you could use some representation.
Right, and I'm just saying our show is based in St. Louis. James Gunn is from St. Louis, so James, if you're listening, Nicole would love to be, and I think from what I'm seeing in the chats, my goodness, everyone would love to see you as Dreamer on the big screen.
Aw, thank
so
you guys.
it's been a very friendly and very a lot of love for you in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chats or not, but it's been.
No, I can't.
Okay, it's been nothing but. When are we going to get more of her in this? When are we going to get another comic book from you? So yeah, you are wildly popular. I will say, Nicole.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Jamie Cunningham says we need justice for Supergirl Funko Pops. I agree. They could come out with it posthumously. I guess after the show's ended, it's posthumous. So yeah, they could come out with them still.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Give the people what they want.
The hour has flown by. We're wrapping up here. I want to make sure we again tell people that the comic books are out. So there's several comic books going all the way back to 2021. I think you've written at least a half a dozen stories, if not more. There's like a Harley Quinn. There was a backup story. So it's been. I assume they've given you comps for all the ones you've written. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I need to start framing them.
Yeah, seriously, that'd be.
I need to start actually displaying them because I just have like I just have piles of comic books. You know what I have the most of, which is crazy because it's like the shortest thing I wrote, but I wrote the back issue for Harley Quinn 30. I have so many. I have multiple copies of every variant, and there are so many variants. For one issue, and I was like, oh my god! And it's just Harley Quinn. I'm like, it's just 8 pages that I wrote in the back.
So you take those to Comic-Con and start signing them for people, and
every my dad will always come and he'll be like, hey, a buddy of mine has a trans kid. Could you? And I'm like, here it is. Here's the comic. You know what? You don't even have to ask.
Just
Here's the comic.
Yeah.
Take it off of my hands.
The fact that you've got, like I said, such that fan base. Hopefully, I will see you at other cons coming up.
I hope so.
Do you have any? You have any lined up for 2024 yet that you can announce, or
not yet?
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Now we're in the making of the comic book, and then we'll go and talk about the comic
There you go.
book.
So it's probably coming later in the year than maybe once there are more of them out. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, I've got to figure out Clock King's motivation, please.
But I'm sure. So being kind of an introvert, and this will be my last question. I know we need to wrap this up. Being an introverted person, it sounds like, are cons a little bit nerve-wracking for you to go, and you've got. I mean, I'm a little bit agoraphobic, so I go to these things because I kind of want to cover them. But for someone like you, is it challenging?
It's good for a period of time. Because I think I was definitely more extroverted as a kid, and then as I've grown up, I've just become, and maybe on Supergirl too, because everyone on the cast was so introverted that I just kind of became that way by osmosis. But I handle them pretty well, and I have such a good time, especially comic book conventions. Everyone's so nice and excited. And when I get to, the hour flew by. When I get to just talk about comic books, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If I let me talk about Dreamer, and I'll just be like, I had this idea the other day while I was in the bathroom. What if we gave her a pig? I'm like, or something stupid. But then the shocking thing is, I'll send an email to Paul Kaminsky or something and be like, yeah, great, do it. And I was like, what? You like that? Damn, low bar.
Now you've got to work that in.
Yeah. Now I'm like, how do I get her pig?
But I think it seems like you've really found a happy place, because the joy on your face when you talk about writing this character is quite evident. And I feel bad for those of you who aren't watching this, because for those of you who are listening, big smile on her face as she's talking about this character, getting to write her, that she's now played on screen, hopefully on the big screen coming up. Again, James Gunn, if you're listening.
I would love to. Someone call me. She's cool, and she's now connected to Amanda Waller. So
yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh, that's another thing. I hear Viola Davis's voice. It varies between CCH Pounder, who voiced her in Justice League, the animated series, but now I've gotten used to Viola Davis. So depending on how she's drawn, if it's skinny Amanda Waller, I hear Viola. If it's a little bit, original OG Amanda.
It's second one.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It takes up space.
Right.
Yes. Everyone's talking about Dream Team. They're like, oh yeah, it's it's totally a backdoor Dreamer ongoing. And I'm like, oh, make no mistake. Amanda Waller is the main character. She is the real breakaway star from this series. I was like, oh, I'm going to write Dreamer. I'm going to write Harley Quinn. I love writing Amanda Waller.
I can only imagine.
So much fun. She's my favorite one in the lineup.
Because just the way she maneuvers the pieces on the board. She's probably one of the most brilliant characters, right there with Mr. Terrific, Lex Luthor, Batman.
Straight up.
My time is blowing through here. Before I let you go, make sure to tell everyone if they want to keep up with you, social media handles, websites, new projects that they can look for.
On TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not calling it X. If Elon Musk can dead name his daughter, I can dead name Twitter.
Fair. I still call it Twitter, but I still call the place Riverport Amphitheater, and it's gone through 8 different name changes now, so that's just me. This has been an absolute delight. I'm so glad you came on the show. Thank you very much for your time on a Sunday evening and for taking so much time with us. Make sure I play the
here to talk about comic books.
Yeah, and like I said, if you're up for doing it again closer to the release of Suicide Squad, I'd love to have you back on.
Let's do it. When we can get into all of it, we'll do a discussion. We'll analyze it. Great.
Perfect. I appreciate your time, Nicole Maines. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you as always. There she goes. I want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, Discover St. Charles. Make sure you check them out if you're looking to plan a trip. Maybe your New Year's resolution is to go someplace new in 2024. Check out discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. Always something going on. They just had their big ice sculpting event down there. There's a lot of fun to be had. Go Frontier Park. Go try some of the great food, the restaurants out there, the little shops that make up that area. Check them out. Start your trip at the website, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Thank you to Joey V. I'm going to point both cameras. Thank you to all of you who are in the chat listening tonight. And thank you, Metropolis. Good night.